few minutes early, so we'll use this time to see if anyone's gonna show up. Let them show up, and if you're watching, please feel free to say hi, or if you're catching it later, please feel free to let me know via Twitter or the Rocket Chat. But if you're watching it live, Twitch is the way to go. That's the chat I'm watching. Just gearing up here to do the second half of the third stream of live R development. I worked out some kinks between last time and this time, and we'll have 2 more sessions of live development after this one to constitute the full cycle, and hopefully have some nice scripts ready and polished at the end of that. But today we're going to do some model selection and model design. I'm going to, since I still have a few minutes before the start here, I'm going to try something real quick. Does this turn like that? Nope. Okay, I gotta just pick it up, turn it around. Alright, so we got a few minutes here until noon Mountain Time, so I'm going to get over there on the screen for a second and just mark out some boundaries real quick. That seems visible. Don't know how well my voice is carrying at this time, but this is sort of experimental, so let's see. This sort of a boundary line. Alright, box this off because that's something else. So now the whiteboard is set up. Alright, that seems pretty set, and it is now noon, so let's change cameras real quick, give a little intro. Alright, so hi everyone, my name is Liz, this is Liz Does It, this is stream, the conclusion of stream 3. We're splitting them into 2 parts each now, 2 hours each, of my live R development for signals. And yeah, I just wanted to introduce the stream. Today we'll be like doing some more model design and testing rudimentary models, try to get something cranking so we can have an actual model going. I fixed last time, I cut early because I was losing focus, and we were knee deep into debugging, which is really useful to follow, but at a certain point you don't want to keep going, and it required running functions that take hours to conclude. So I figured that was best done off stream. So I did, in fact, fix that stuff. And this is not investment advice. Do your own due diligence. This is just my analysis, my code. It is not a professional investment advice. Please take your own responsibility for your own decisions and never invest or spend or gamble more than you can afford to lose. And that itself is not investment fund advice either. Anyway, let's change screens back to the normal way. So today it's exciting because we're going to work with some models, but also it's my first day of classes. And hello to Eve A.B. Watching along with us. I'm in my third semester of grad school. I'm in a counseling program, so I'm going to become a therapist, or that's the plan. And today's the first day of classes for the fall semester. I went to campus earlier today and waited in line for 2 hours so I could get a campus ID, which is now required to be in some of the buildings out there. As well as a transit pass, which I'm excited about. I used to ride the train a lot. But let's start the tomato timer, and we'll pull up R. So I've already preloaded some files and stuff here. We'll just run through some of these tests before. We were seeing a very small number relatively to the size, around like 30,000 or 50,000 unique values for these about 750,000, maybe a million row data sets, which is highly surprising. So let's see if those seem any better, if there's any obvious repetition happening. Okay, that looks good. We're looking just at the head. We're peeking at the head of train 20, test 20, train volume 20, and test volume 20. Those all are looking good so far. We'll look at the tails as well. 0, 0, 0. So I think those zeros are things that we'll end up wanting to throw out. So we might work on that a little bit. Just cinching up these data sets a little bit. Let's take a look at the summaries. So with each of them are going from about -1 up to some higher values. We got some NAs in the volumes, some infs as well in the volume returns. I think this still seems fine. I think there's bound to be some weird changes in volume for some of these, especially when an instrument is introduced. Maybe when it goes out. There's likely to be some weird stuff. There's some really high returns in the train and the test. You see up to 829,000, even a little more than that, and 835 in the test. That's pretty wild, I'd say. I think that's potentially worth censure. I think returns are usually in a more sane range, and numbers do look pretty weird a little bit. So we'll see if those change at all when we let's institute a requirement that our training and our test data only includes day spreads of 20. So let me, should probably have my headphones on. So we want to construct a day spread column for each of these, and then cut to 20 day only. And someone else who's going through this, if they're like, well, I like this, but I want to include 19 day, 18 day, 17, whatever, like whatever you want, you can make that adjustment. We're just trying to, get something to stick here. So let's say we make a function called getDaySpread. With from date and to date, which will be vectors. So let's experiment in the console a little bit to make sure we get some sensible calculations happening here. We don't want to end up with a date format. So we have date start and date end. Let's go into train 20. So we'll say train 20. We'll do row 1. Date start. Date end. And we'll do minus the same row, but date start. See what comes out of that. So non-numeric. Maybe if we rearrange this a little bit. So if we go like that, that should maybe make a little more sense. Okay, so we're getting a non-numeric argument to binary operator. Let's look at that. Let's make sure we've called lubridate. Let's do a class of we'll throw a class call onto train 20 date end, the first value. Let's see what it says. It says character. Okay, what happens if we cast that as a date? Does it stay true? Yes. Okay, so as date. And let's just say 1 through 3. Okay. What if we do as date like that minus as date? From date end to date start. Time difference of 10 days. Okay. And just make sure this isn't something important. My partner is a sweetheart. Let's just check the vector math real quick in case that ends up wonky. And then we'll deal with turning it into an integer. Time differences in days. And we've already adjusted the return, so this is making me realize we'll just want to throw out stuff that's probably less than 20 days. We could even say less than 19, less than 18. Like, we could pick a number. We could find the max and then use that as sort of a guide. So doing as date difference of the vectors gives us time difference. Let's throw an as numeric call into that. Okay, cool. So we have an idea of the form we want to follow with this function. So we'll throw an as numeric around a couple as date and a subtraction. So we'll say day spread gets as numeric as well, or as that date. The to date would be the first, minus as that date from date, and we say return day spread. Okay, so so let's try to construct train 20 days spread from get day spread, passing from date equals train 20 date start, and to date. I like these names, they're easier to not mess up. Train 20 date end. Alright. We'll crank that. Hopefully it only takes a few seconds to run that. We're off to a good start. So if anyone's just tuning in, we're going for a couple hours today. After we compute this day's spread, if it works as we wanted it to, we will take a peek at a summary of that. We can see if there's any weirdness. So we say summary of train 20 days spread. So the max is 22. The minimum is 0. They're almost all 20, so that's great. Let's see. So we'll say almost all 20. The maximum is 22. And we want to see, like, are there any that are 19, 18, 17? Um, so we'll say sum of train 20 days spread equals 19. Yes, there's a lot of those. 1231. Let's see, 18. There's a lot of those as well. Let's say 17. Not very many. So, 20 minus 2 is 18. 20 plus 2 is 22, which is our max. So we'll probably do from 18 to 22. I think that's a solid case. So let's cut down to 18 is equal to days spread is less than. Yeah, we'll just do that. We don't need to put a top end, I think. So we'll say dim previous, just so we know we can refer to it, equals the dim of train 20. And then we'll say train 20 is going to get train 20 indexing into there, which, and we'll pull this condition out so it's more readable after we've written it. I'll say which train 20 days spread are greater than or equal to 18. I think that's a pretty good condition. We'll call that index long enough. It's maybe a little too arbitrary, but it'll do. Okay, so boom, boom, boom. Let's see. Dim new gets dim of train 20, and let's compare. Let's say dim previous. And we'll say dim new as well, just to see them side by side. Alright, so we only lost like 14,000 rows out of 900 and some thousand. That's pretty good. So let's do the same for test and also train and test volume. Could probably reuse some of these, like, there's very likely to be the same data indices between them, but it seems best to make sure by repeating. Oh, I'm getting a scammer. How wonderful. How do I ban this person? Alright, I did it. Awesome. No bots, I don't want to be famous. Not at all. Sorry. Yeah, so if anyone's jumping in or whatever, feel free to say hi. We're just trucking away at this right now. We have about 7.5 minutes left on that timer. So, we'll make day's spread for the rest. So we'll say that, and then we had to cut them down as well. So we've got 3 more sets to do. So we'll two and 3. So we'll start with test 20. It would be good to functionalize this. I think this will be acceptable for now. Just going through here and replacing all of these with the proper variable names, and then we'll just run it all. Probably about during a 5-minute break. That's test. Train 20. Let's make sure the variable name. Train volume 20. I don't need the dim previous on each of these, so let's just get rid of that. Oh, okay. Okay, we did test 20. Now we want to do train volume 20. And I can hear my door, so I'll go fix that on the break. Okay. Then this will be test volume 20. Did I copy too many in? Might have done one too many. We'll see about that. Let's get through these real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we only need the 3. So we have test 20. Test 20 looks good. We have train volume 20. Train volume 20 looks good. We have test volume 20, but this looks different. Did I jump in at the wrong spot? Okay, so let's go back. We make the new test 20 up here. Let me see. Train volume gets this. Alright, so train volume gets this. That's fine. Then we have test volume 20. And we cut down the volume index. Don't know if that made any sense, but delete this extra one here. See how we're doing on time. Just seconds remain. Excellent. So we'll crank all these and see how those turn out. We will take a 5-minute break in just a moment to do something else. See if my okay. Hopefully that wasn't too loud. So we'll switch that over to a 5-minute break. While we think about something else, maybe do something else, I'm gonna put my controllers down for a second and just have some sips of soda. As you can see, I'm wearing my Numerai shirt. It is a very stylish shirt. It's a wonderful logo they've developed. Yeah, what am I getting into later today? I've got my addictions counseling class this evening. It's a bit later than I'd like to have a class, but nonetheless, I'm excited. The professor is my advisor, and he's a really cool guy. And it's a really interesting subject. Especially because I'm coming up on 6 months clean and sober, which I'm really happy about. Loving this new lifestyle. On Daily Scores and Chill, John often talks about the gym when he has some downtime. I got in touch with a local private gym recently that my partner and I are going to check out. We're going to see if they're any good. They got good prices, and they're close by, and they have trainers available. I'm just waiting on some tattoos of mine to heal before I start lifting again. But I'm hoping to be in the gym a lot, and hopefully I'll I'll be able to start giving John a run for his money, maybe, when it comes to lifting. I'm going to put my headphones down and just stretch my legs for a couple minutes here. I'm going to go fix the door. I don't know if anyone else would be able to hear it if they were listening, but I'll be right back. This is one of those kind of like T-ball things. Love squeezing. It's fun. It's a great stim. Just gonna check and see who's watching before we jump back into it. Hello to both people watching. I'm not sure how to pronounce either of your names. But yeah, if anyone has any questions or comments, feel free to chime in. I've been working on an album, a hip hop album lately. I'm excited to work more on that and do some promo for that. All right, so we are back at it. Let's start a new Pomodoro and see how the R code turned out. Did it crank successfully? I think it looks like it did. I'm just building this file off the one from last time. Let's copy that. And we'll look at test and train volume and test volume. Let's make sure there's nothing too crazy in there. Yeah, looks beautiful. Okay. So let's do some dim calls real quick. Let's make sure we haven't whittled them down too far. Yeah, I'd say those all look good. We're still over 1 million on a couple of them, and the one that's not, don't even know if that was that was like 903,000 I think before, and it looks like we're matching up. Ooh. How did that happen? It looks like we're matching up on the yeah, the dimensions, which is good. It's more serendipitous, as some data scientists would say. Or maybe that's more of an actuarial word. I'm not sure. Anyway, so we have some sensible data here. I think we want to start thinking about, like, what do we want to train on, right? Like, I made some useful code I pasted in here from GBM, which is gradient boosting machines in R. Let's just add that link straight to our script. So, and then we'll take a look at the helper code I prepared ahead of time. We might hit the whiteboard. So we want to train a model, and we're going with gradient boosting or gradient boosted, which is it? I don't know. Machines. AKA GBM. So I believe, I don't know if we really need caret. I kind of forget. But we'll bring it in because it might play a role. So let's say library caret, library GBM. And then maybe we'll make like even smaller toy models so we can start to get an idea of timing, because we don't want to be like, oh, this is going to take 10 hours, because we're not going to be able to finish that on the stream. So we'll start really small and inch it up from there. So let's do a timing pattern. We'll say elapsed time gets system sys.time. We'll say for index in sequence 250,000. So 1 through 250,000 is what comes out of calling seq, SEQ, 250,000. And we'll do nothing in that, but we want to see, you know, does this track our time? We'll say do an assignment. How about that? Unused argument for index in. So maybe we want to wrap that in some curly brackets. I keep doing Control Enter instead of Enter. I'm trying to format it a little better. Alright, it doesn't like that. Let's just get some help from the internet here. How can I time my code in R? Proc.time and system.time. How does system.time work? Okay, so I did want to do system. R just didn't want me to do that. I don't know why. So let's get rid of that extra curly brace. And we'll change this to system lowercase. And elapsed time. Okay. That took like no time at all. It was really fast. So we might be able to do a decent train here. That would be cool, right? So a reminder right now that we have set up test and train to be 3 years each early on. So I think like if we go back and forth, we're like, try this parameter, test it. But we can go back and forth like with some leaking and sort of use that if you're making a more robust model in the future. We might not have time for that on these streams, so we just want to really get something done, honestly. So let's take a look at our notes real quick. So we have some code that we can use here with the trees, the shrinkage, the interaction depth, train fraction, bag fraction, etc., etc. We'll look more deeply at that in a moment, but let's try to construct like parameters first. Let's see what we have, and then let's go to the board. So if we go head of train 20, we have X means nothing, so we'll do some cleanup, but we have X means nothing. We have our symbol, we don't want to use that either. In this case, I think being symbol specific if you can is smart, so keep that in mind. But date start and date end, which we could turn that into like month start as a number, month end as a number, date start and date end as a number. So that could be 4 columns right there. Then we're doing like a kind of seasonality component. And we have our target 20 day. We have the days spread. I think we don't really want to use the days spread for this purpose. Good if you want. I don't feel like it's gonna add some good edge for us. So we have some date stuff, and we have our target, which is what we want to be predicting when we're at the start. So like if we were at the starting date here, but if we have the target 20 day, so do we want to throw in, so like we have volume as well. We have the volume target up to that point. Do we want to use those to, like, in conjunction with some date variables? we could use some past values of that. So, like, if, say today is December 29th, 2006, we know the 20-day pricing return. We know the 20-day volume return. Do we know the target? We probably want to just like toss this in there, you know. Do we know the target 20-day into the future? And this is like we're cutting stuff down in a way that like it's better to sort of know what you want to do with this ahead of time, because we're probably missing valuable stuff. But it's okay. We're just sort of illustrating a point. So I think what we'll want to do is we'll want to infer where we can the what the 20-day target is going to be, and we're going to make that our target. So maybe we won't go to the board just a second. Let's actually like clean the data up a little bit. Let's so we'll just start by cleaning up the train data. So we'll say train 20 gets train 20. We'll toss off the we'll toss off a few columns here. So we'll start with column 1, which is that X column. We'll toss off column 2, which is the symbol name. Because we're just, you know, we're ripping and running with some tabular data here. That's how we're treating the problem right now. We'll retain date start and date end, and we'll turn those into some stuff after we hit the board and decide what we really want. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll get rid of the 6th, the days spread column, now that we've cut that down. And let's take a peek to make sure we didn't throw something away by accident. Yeah, that's great. That's great. I probably shouldn't have done that. Because now it's like, how do I get it back? I'm going to need to pull by symbol. I'm going to need to pull target by symbol. And that's going to be a thing. So let's reconstruct train 20, and then we'll end up calling this train initial. We'll rerun that stuff while we're hitting the whiteboard. So let's go back up here. We'll reload train 20. Okay, train 20 gets that, and then we need to run some stuff. Calculate days spread. That's probably fine. And then we'll come down here, run those. Okay. Cool. So we have train initial. And now we're preserving stuff, so that's good. Let's check our time. We're doing fine on time. And then I will... Let's make this camera bigger, because I'm going to go to the whiteboard for a little bit. Just put up on the whiteboard what we want to be working on. Okay, so I don't know how well the microphone's working. I'm going to kind of poke my head over here and see, so I can see OBS out of the corner of my eye a little bit. Okay, great. So we're going to make a real simple model. See how we end up doing with that. So we know, right? I'm just like checking the camera to make sure this looks good. So I can go here. Can I go this far? Yeah, totally. Okay. So we have date from. We have date to. And we have our target 20 day. We have the pricing, so we'll probably want to rename that. Pricing return, we'll call it. And volume return. So these are both pricing return and volume return are things that we'll have to like rename, we'll have to paste it in a little bit. No problem at all. This is going to be our, wait, is this visible? Did I rate it too high? I wrote it too high. Okay. Alright, let's fix that. Okay, let's see, how about here? No? How about here? Yes. There? Yes. Can we see there? Yes. Okay, great. So, we have date from, we have date to, we have pricing return, we have volume return. I'll just put some marks on these so I remember to do some renaming and pasting those in. You can see that alright? Cool. Can the camera see over here? Sort of. Not great. Alright, so these are going to be, these are our raw inputs. We want, we'll say date from. We're gonna make that into two variables. We're gonna make month and we're gonna make day. And we're also gonna do the date 2 to month and day. This is sort of on the idea that, you know, there may be some seasonality, some yearly broken down into monthly seasonality. There may be some daily like seasonality. So this is we're gonna have 4 variables from the date. We're gonna have a 5th variable with the pricing return and a 6th variable with the volume return, and we're going to can we see this still? Yes, okay. And we're going to predict. We'll call it target. We need to pull it in, and we need to fix up the data set. So, like, if target doesn't exist, throw it out. Should be fine. We have so much data. I think it's not a problem. So we'll be using just 6 columns of tabular data to predict. We'll do this on the training set, and then we'll evaluate it on our test set, which our test set again is like ideally pretty pessimistic, given that it includes 2008 and 2009, I think. So yeah, we'll have these 6 inputs. Let's. I'm gonna move back over here, take a look, and see how it looks on the screen. I know my handwriting is not good. So you'll just have to deal with it. Cool. Okay, let's bring this back around. Greetings, everyone. Let me fix the screen size. Oh, and it's time for a little break. Very good. I'd like a little break. All right. So we kind of have an idea where we're headed with this. We'll take a break and we'll just get it cracking when that 5 minutes is up. By the way, I'm feeling like a lot better this week. I'm still not like 100%, but I'm definitely doing better, so I'm happy about that. All right, so we're rocking a short break. I wish that this page was available in dark mode. I know there's like plugins that can override stuff and make it dark mode on its own, but like that's usually like messed other stuff up for me, so I just try to live with it. But I would look at the screen more if it wasn't so extremely bright. I think this is going great. I'm stoked to make some GBMs and test them out on our data. We'll make some little mini ones first. Here I am talking about stuff that we were just doing, but we need to be distracting. So what what else can I do? Just drink water. Or roll some dice. A 3, a 2, and a 5. Those are all prime numbers. In fact, they're distinctly the only 3 primes that one could roll when rolling a d6. That's pretty cool. I'm such a nerd. Yeah. My fiance and I went camping a couple weeks ago, and we both love rocks of all kinds, so we brought some rocks back with us. This is one of the rocks. It's pretty cool. It's got like all these holes in it. I don't know what kind of rock it is. I am not the most skilled at that. But yeah, later today I'll be taking the train to campus. I'll be doing some reading for my coaching course. Oh snap. Damn, I thought these things were good. Guess not. I had all these 3M strips, and they all started like coming undone. It's not inspiring. Maybe I should reapply them with some super glue. Yeah, so if anyone's watching this on the replay and you're kind of confused about why we're not coding right now, I follow Pomodoros, which is 25 minutes of work and then 5 minutes of break, unless you need a 10-minute break. And that break is doing other things. For me, that helps keep my creativity and productivity at a peak. I have tracked my progress on such things before and know that doing it this way, I get more done in an hour and at a higher level of quality than I would without the breaks, which is funny because it's less actual time spent working. But yeah, this is how I work. If you're watching along, feel free to fast forward through the breaks, if that's what you like. I have about a minute left on my break. Let's see. I haven't solved this puzzle in a while, so I might not be able to do it, but let's see. So I'm trying to figure out how to orient my hands properly. I have this puzzle. Maybe I'll work on this in the breaks, and it's got like some pieces that look like this. It's got at least 3 of those. It's got exactly 3 of those, and it has one piece that's like a solid block. We'll come to this again on our next break. And the other 2 pieces are isomorphic to this one, up to and including rotation. They're not mirrors of each other. They are clones. All right. Get back to what everybody wants out of this stream. Just fasten my controllers. We'll get into it. All right, so we'll start another Pomodoro. And we know that so this cleaning up stuff, is that helpful? I don't know. So I'm going to sort of blot this out for now, and write out like what we want here. So we want to list our inputs. We want to our target, list that too, and we'll have to derive that and stick everything together. Um, our inputs are gonna be month from, day from, month to, day to, and we'll format this so it's like in a way I like to look at. We'll also have pricing return and volume return. We'll format that in just a second, and our target is going to be the future target 20-day. We'll say future pricing, because I forget if that's what it's called in volume as well. It might be called like volume 20-day, even though it's actually a return, a volume return. So let's format this in a prettier way. And then we'll have to derive all this stuff. We'll glue stuff together. We'll normalize it or regularize it. Maybe we'll even censor, because we had that, like, what was it, like 800,000? That's much too high. That's crazy. that is nonsense. So yeah, we'll do some censoring so it doesn't just blow everything else up. It's funny because on Daily Scores and Chill last week we had some discussion about censure and what's the other one? The one where you drop it, truncation. And I know the general idea is that, like, the more crystal clear your data is, the better. But I actually think that with, like, bizarre data, potentially crazy data, it doesn't make sense to, you know, if you're like, when you're dealing with returns, right? Like, your 20-day pricing return, right? It's pretty wild to think that it's normal for a price to go up by 50%, but that was like the mean. But we also had like in that data set, we had a pricing return over 20 days of a factor of like 80 million or something just crazy. Like, that moves everything in the underlying distribution and what we're fitting to it. And I think we should just say, like, if it's above 10, or if it's above 5, or if it's above 2, it's 10, or it's 5, or it's 2. Because, like, if something's going to rocket up anyway, like, we're not going to be able to get that edge of being able to predict that it's going up by a factor of 800,000. Like, that's not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to predict black swans or, like, weird data errors. His potential is just an error. And Censure helps with that too. It says, okay, well, we have a million rows anyway, so, like, there's some errors in there. It's not going to mess us up too bad, except in the case where it's so large that it moves the mean to, you know, it's not normal to have a 50% return in 20 days, but that's what the current data reflects. We want the data to be more honest than that. So we might, we're definitely going to do some censoring. Oh, it kind of got intense there. It's exciting. I enjoyed this aspect of analysis and talking about it. I hope somebody watches this sometime and thinks about it and ends up talking about it. Um, I should text John about this. Okay, so we're gonna have to bring in stuff, and we're gonna have to censor. So we want to. Let's just look up a definition of a word real quick. Because I don't want to misuse regularize and normalize. Regularization, adjusted prediction function, normalization, adjusted data. So we want to do normalization. And we also... I'm going to say we want to do censure. If you don't want to do censure, hey, that's your business. I'm going to do it. I think my data, my predictions will be better for it. So we've set up here what our like inputs and targets are going to be. And now let's sort of like map out what order we want to do things. So... we'll make a schematic, a transformation schematic. We'll just comment this all at once after. So we'll say so first, we want to derive month and day from and to, and then we want to assign or we want to glue in pricing return. Which, like, it might not actually be gluing, but, like, it'll look like that. We want to... This thing... Let's see if that messes me up at all. Okay, that looks fine. We want to glue in pricing return. We want to glue in our volume return. So then we'll have our 6 inputs. And then we want to glue in target, 20-day pricing return. And we're going to call it target because that's how I like to do my machine learning models for now. And there's going to be a step after this where we need to dispose of NA target rows, potentially. I think, we'll find like, oh, whoops, the way we set this up, like the 20-day overlap thing, it's a problem, sort of. I think it doesn't, like, we could still get a model that functions, but we'll dispose of any NAs as a result of how we're processing our target there. I invite anyone to please restructure this code in the future, make it better. It's all on the unlicensed, so I encourage it, and if anyone lets me know and wants to push to my repo, or if it ends up on the council repo or wherever, it's all good with me. So we've disposed of the bunk target rows, so we're not like training. We have something that makes sense there, and then we want to, we'll say, and then we want to censure pricing return, and then we want to censure volume return. And of course we're going to have to repeat all this stuff according to like a cookbook. Like, how did we do it before? Let's do it that way again when we're doing the training to validate. We can't censure target, really, although we should. Should we? Do I want to censure target? Yeah, I'm gonna do it. Okay, because we'll still have potentially that like 800,000 in there, and that's just gonna mess everything up. So we're gonna say censure target, same rule as pricing return. We'll add a maybe to the volume return, because let's take another look, and we'll get some something sensible out of this. So we've done our censuring. Now we want to normalize each column, including target. So we'll just say, 0 through 1. That seems fine. We want to save our transformation operations, because like for things like normalizing the columns and like other stuff, like it makes more sense, I think, to normalize our test based on how we normalized the train, so we don't get like out of sample problems. Or, I mean, and this is my intuition, I encourage everyone to experiment and do other things, but this is how I'm going to do it for now. Save our transformation operations to apply to test. We'll say for test. For tests. Transformation. For test transform. That'll make sense. Okay. Will it fit? No. For test for test transform. Okie dokie. So after we've normalized boom and done that, like we'll say we'll put it in parentheses because I think we want to test stuff first. Oh, hey JRAI, how's it going? And we'll reapply our transformation to the test set. JRAI says, hey, and he's doing some signals work himself. Figured he could get some inspiration. Welcome. You're one of probably one viewer right now. which is just fine. You know, this is like mostly about developing stuff, and so people can check on it again later. Oh, looks like he's not here anymore. Oh, he is. Okay. Twitch, the OBS Twitch chat thing does not accurately tell me who is watching or who is not. But yeah, welcome. We're doing some whiteboard work earlier. Right now, we're like just getting ready to do transformation schematic. And do I'm gonna try to do a GBM before I'm done today. I'd like to start training a GBM. That's my goal this time. Uh, but yeah, welcome to the party. Okay, so we have a lot of steps to do here. We'll hopefully be able to do it pretty quick though. Let's say so we have that. We're just gonna throw that away. Going to copy this so I can just do it line by line. And then select it again, comment it out. If you missed it before JRAI, I was rambling for quite a while about how censoring makes sense given how this data looks. There's a 20-day return in there with a factor of like 800,000, so I don't want to just screw up the model that gets trained to it. And in fact, I want to do some recon right now about that. So we'll call it censure recon. Reconnaissance. And there's... Nope, I did not spell that correctly. Okay. Yeah. For JRAI and anyone who's watching, if you have any questions or any comments or whatever, feel free to chime in. But we're pretty much on a track here, so that's all good. Let's take a look at, let's say, summary, train 20, target 20 day. Okay. And then we'll also look at summary, train volume 20, volume 20 day. So we can kind of get an idea where the craziness is. So looks like that 800,000 disappeared, which is pretty great. Oh, maybe that was in test. Okay. Let's see. There's a bunch of volume NAs in in the volume set, and we have 336 there. What about how many? Let's say let's look at greater than 5, greater than 2, greater than 1. What portion of various returns? Greater than 2, greater than 1. See, even a return of 1 is like just crazy high. So like, if you can predict it's gonna do a return of 1 and it does a return of 30, like, you're still doing good. So that's pretty cool, right? Like, that makes sense. What portion of returns are greater than... Okay, so we want to say sum of train 20, target 20 day, and we'll put a logical in there, or is greater than 5 divided by length train 20 target 20 day, and then we'll repeat that for 2 and 1, and this will give us the answers to our question on the training data set. And I don't think we really need to look at tests. It's pretty dirty anyway, even though we're doing those both intentionally small so we can expand from there. So a very small portion, and a still very small portion, and a still very small portion. I might even censor it at 1. I think that would make a lot of sense. Now let's look at this for the volume. So we'll say sum train volume 20. I wonder if anyone can hear my cat. He makes wonderful noises. Oh my god. Greater than 5. Hello, polynomial. Hi. He's been very jealous because we adopted a snake, and he's been making sure that he gets more attention than the snake. Alright, so we're just going to run these same little tests for 5, 2, and 1. That's 500%, 200%, and 100%. But we're going to run it on the volume returns as well. Because, like, I think it'll make more sense to do it this way. My years of actuarial analysis speaking to me very loudly about what I should do here. Okay, so we need to remove the NA rows with NA volume. Before we run that test. Which train volume 20 oh dear. So it's time for another break, but we have a half hour until I'm scheduled to end, and I'm feeling it still, so I'm gonna keep going. I might go an extra half hour or so. I feel like we're going at a good pace, and I have a little time to spare, so like doing a little extra anyway. Okay, we want to throw isNA on this, so we have our indices. So index NA rows. What does that look like? Okay, it's just a bunch of rows. Several thousand. So let's just make sure this makes sense. We'll say head train 20. And we'll index into that with index not rows. It might not feel like it, but we are actually quite close to starting to train our first ML model in our on signals. Which is very exciting. Okay, so that's what it looks like on train 20, and let's see what it looks like on train volume 20, because they should be reflecting the same data set, just with volume instead. And then we have our NAS under volume there. Yes. Okay. So now we want to throw those out, and we'll have to remember to do this when we're modifying our other sets, or we'll actually just do it all right here so it's out of the way. So we'll say train 20 gets train 20. We'll index into there. We'll do a -1 times index na rows, and that will just drop those rows for us. And we'll also do that for the same exact rows on the train volume 20 data set, so that these two data sets still represent the same thing. And then we'll do that for the test data. And if we run into trouble, we run into trouble. No big deal. We've made just insane progress. This is so good. Let's see. Okay. Train blah blah blah. Okay. Bop bop bop. And let's do. We'll run that. We'll run ahead of some. Let's say 500 to 515 row, just sort of at random on train volume and on train. See if they look like they match up. They do. Beautiful. And then we'll copy paste this and rerun it for the test data. And then we can look at those volume returns finally and get an idea of where we want to set our censure at. And then we'll do the same little peek on the test, because mismatching data is the legit worst. Okay, looks great to me. So we've got that. Excellent. So let's figure out how to pull month, how to pull day. Is month a function? Month is a function that we have. Let's look at head of train 20. And then we'll look at the head of month of train 20. For the date start variable. It's like 12, 12, 12, 12. 12, 12. I only said 4. At first, and then I said 2 more. Um, Great. So that looks fine to me. Let's just throw a class on that to. Ooh, whoops. Ideally, this is numeric already. If not, then we'll just cast it as numeric. No problem. All right, it's numeric already. And let's see, is day a function? Looks like it. Oh, I did day month. Whoops. Instead of head of day. It didn't make any sense. Okay, it's an integer, but we want to see what it looks like. So we'll check that out too. $888 and then some. Great. So let's do month. Let's define candidate data. So this will be less copy pasting when we're redoing it later. We'll say candidate data gets train 20, and then candidate data volume 20 day gets train volume 20 day. That's great. Okay, we should probably record our. We should look at. We didn't look at the returns again. So let's look at the pricing greater than 521 again. Very small numbers. For volume, it's a bit higher. So like even volume greater than 5, there's like 3%. That's like so I'd like it to be less than 0.1%. So let's find that point. More or less by trial and error. So we want to record this. So even 15 gives us just 1%. So let's say, what about 50? Volume returns. Still, that's 0.5%. We're getting closer. Wow. Oops. It didn't change much there. Alright, let's just jack it to 1,000. Apparently volume can change pretty wildly. I don't want to like really go over 1,000, so let's just censor it at 100. And let's look at these again on pricing. So 1 Setting center points at pricing return greater than 1 and volume return greater than 50. Oh, wait. What is the maximum volume return? Let's look at that summary again real quick. Infinity. Okay. That seems kind of crazy. Huh. I don't know. We'll just say greater than 50. Why not? Okay, so we've decided our center points. We're setting up our candidate data here. And that way we can just change variable names up there. So we'll say month 2 gets month of candidate data, date end, and day 2 gets day of that. And then we'll do from for this date start. Then we'll want to glue them on, so we say candidate data cbind. Let's see what that looks like. Candidate data month 2 day 2 month from day from. I'll peek at the head, see if it caught the names we wanted it to. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so we've got that. We've got the names we want there too. Then we want to glue in pricing return, glue in volume return, and they're already glued in, so we'll just rename them. do it at the same time. So we'll say names, candidate data for columns which numbers do we want there? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, number 5, 6, and number 7. Pricing return and volume return. And then we'll look at that head again. Great. So that looks good. And then we want to get the target and dispose of rows with NA. We want to add a step in here too of dropping unused rows, or dropping irrelevant columns. Okay, so we're gonna want to glue in the target. How do we find that? So that would be a volume return in 20 days, or we could do starting by matching the starting date. Okay, so a little trickier than I expected timing wise, but we might still be able to do some really cool stuff. So let's see. I want to get the target by matching date we want to match date and to date start. With symbol. So to do this, we will get two indices. So we'll say index match. We'll say index end match start, because I don't like saying index match since that's Microsoft Excel terminology, and this is not Microsoft Excel. And we'll also get index symbol, and then we'll combine them. Index combined gets index end match start and index symbol. We'll define those in just a moment, but let's do a quick check in the console. So if AAA gets true, false, true, false, true, and BBB gets false, false, true, false, false, AAA and BBB works as expected. So we don't need a double AND operator there. I often test stuff like that in the console to kind of make sure I'm setting up the logic correctly. So I'm gonna have to loop through each symbol. Probably. Okay. That. I don't know why it likes to jump to the top or bottom of the console sometimes. It's kind of annoying. Alright, if it gets to 2:30, I'm definitely gonna like kick it because I gotta eat some food and get ready for class. But let's see what we can get from here. So if the end matches the start, well, let's see which end matches start and which. This is kind of twisty, kind of confusing. So, yeah, we'll definitely want to loop it. So we'll start by saying candidate data, new column, target, is going to get repeated NA. So we just know, we haven't done our censoring yet, but we can do that later. That's fine. So we've set that up, and then we can loop over symbol. We want to loop over symbols. If we get CMO, then it's like, say index symbol is which equals symbol, and then we loop over date end. But we shouldn't need, I feel like we can do it with just one level of looping. We probably don't need to do a nested loop. So we start by assigning target an NA value. And then we say for symbol in, well, let's say, we'll say L symbol, L for element, not for the, but you know, either way if you like it. In unique candidate data symbol, which we'll just define this up here. Let's say symbols candidate. Let's say symbols candidate gets that. Define both of those, and then we'll say we're looping over each symbol. Paste this into there. So index symbol is going to get which symbols candidate. No. Which candidate data symbols. Symbol. Is equal to the current symbol that we're on, L symbol. And we'll call this a which, and we'll remove this. And we'll also call this one a which, and then we'll throw the which function down here. Okay, so that gives us the symbol index, sort of, and if we want the date end to match the date start, then we want, how do we get that? So we have date start, we have date end, right? Is that what they're called? Date start, date end. We have date start and date end. But if we just say one equal to the other one, then that won't work. So we're gonna have to go by like second level to this loop over date. Symbols candidate, and then we'll say end date candidate gets unique candidate data date end, and we'll say for L end in end date candidate, boom, and then whoops, which end match start. So we have our unique ending date for this ending date, and then for this symbol. So then which end match start Okay, so now we say which date start is equal to L end. I probably have to make some error catching, quite possibly, once we've fully fleshed this out. We're so close. We've only been doing this part for like 10 minutes. It's crazy. It's pretty intense. So so we want to say is equal to L end. And then I have to fix this name to which and which instead of index and index. And then we have that index combined. And let's do the first step of this. L end. So we're just gonna step the first, step or so. Gets end date candidate 1 and L symbol gets symbols candidate 1. So we'll see what L end and L symbol are. L end, L symbol. Decimo. We'll say this. Which end match start? That's really which start match end. Got to think about that. Index combined, let's see, none. Okay. So this is a point, that symbol might not exist. So let's say if, let's do a class call on index combined. Class index combined length index combined is 0, length of 9 is 1. Okay, so if the length is greater than 0, then we can proceed. So that's all well and good. So if we have that index, and that index gives us the start that matches the end, and then we assign that to the start. So let's fix the names. So that gives us which start matches the end, and then if we have that, we want to assign the target. Ideally, it shouldn't be greater than 1. So let's say if, or the length, I mean, length index combined is greater than 1, then we'll and I just type a bunch of random characters so it's easily searched again later if it needs to be. And then we just do an else. If it's greater than 0 and it's equal to 1, then we will make an assignment. So we'll do candidate data index combined. I don't know how long this one will take to run, unfortunately. So it seems to run into that a lot with signal stuff, is potentially an hour long loop. It might be much faster. Let's hope for that. So candidate data index combined. We'll actually just say candidate data target at index combined gets candidate data pricing return, and then we have to index into that. We'll call it match L end, and then we'll construct that here. Match L end gets gets which we'll say which symbol and which end match start, and which, we'll call it which L end. Which L end gets candidate data date end is equal to L end. All right, so let's run it and see if any errors come up right away. Hopefully not. Let's peek at the names of candidate data again, just to make sure that's what we want. Pricing return, volume return, yes, okay. Boom, 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 boom. It's running. All right, I'm gonna call it a 5-minute break so I can go use the bathroom. and maybe this will run. We'll see how it goes. I am back. Let's see if the program concluded. I'm just going to jump right back. It's still going. So, I kind of expect that this is going to take a while. And I need to do stuff for my life. So, thank you if you joined us or listened, JRAI. If you're still there, I hope that your signals development goes well. Your signals work, whatever you're doing with that. And for everybody out there, we'll be back. We meaning me. I'll be back in a week. I'm just kind of seeing what time works for me each time because, school's going in full effect and just trying to make everything work out. I'll probably work on this some in between now and then, but we made some serious progress here. We have rails to like where we're headed. I'm excited. We're getting close to the end. It's this is some really exciting stuff. So I just want to say thank you to everybody, and thank you to Numerai and the Council of Elders. I hope everybody has a great week. Bye bye.